Justice. I'm Judge Jeanine Pirro. Thanks for being with us tonight. Allegations flying against both candidates this weekend. We have a packed show on deck, but first, my opening statement. More than 30 years ago, as a young prosecutor, I started one of the first domestic violence units in the nation because of the abuse and violence that men perpetrated against women. It was my crusade to level the playing field where women were seen as inconsequential, where women were beaten on a regular basis. Now, I've been offended by things said and done by Bill Clinton, and said and allegedly done by Donald Trump. Things that are unacceptable at any time. But should these issues be the dominant issues at this point in the campaign? Now, I've told you I know Donald Trump for 25 years. I've been with him in family, party, business, and public events. I've never, ever heard him talk or act the way his accusers claim he did. Period. End of the story. So let's get on to what really matters to us, our families, and our pocketbooks. There are two candidates, folks, from which to choose. Neither is perfect, but I choose Donald Trump. The other side is so dangerous and so scary that to vote for her is a guarantee of at least 3, if not 4, Supreme Court justices who will chip away and destroy the fundamental rights and guarantees of the United States Constitution. Now, I've been telling you this for the past year and a half, but she, of course, will talk a good game.
A lot of people are worried that maybe they wouldn't have a place in Donald Trump's America.
Now, I've got news for you. You may not have a place in Hillary Clinton's America. She has her own war on women. Evidence. What the women Bill Clinton violated said about her. She even has her own war on religion. The woman is utterly against religious liberty. No surprise there, since it's her pal Barack Obama, whose policy she wants to continue, who took the Little Sisters of the Poor to the United States Supreme Court to force them to provide contraceptives and the morning after pill under Obamacare to their employees, a violation of their religious beliefs. Evidence. WikiLeaks this week. The communications director, along with the now campaign chairman for Hillary Clinton and a Democratic strategist, mock Catholics and evangelical Christians for, quote, their backward views. Their anti-Christian bigotry is palpable. They, Hillary and her gang, talk of a need for a Catholic spring and a desire to plant the seeds of a revolution in Catholic teaching, reminiscent of the Arab Spring that they were complicit in the Middle East, which is now in chaos. The same people who fret after Americans are killed, whose worst fear is not the Americans who are killed, but an anti-Muslim backlash. The same group that told American Christians at a national prayer breakfast, you Christians, you get off your high horses, after we were being beheaded by Muslims. Are any of you confident that this woman will appoint Supreme Court justices who are going to protect your First Amendment religious liberty? If you are, let me read you another leaked email from WikiLeaks. Quote, we just found out that in order to win the first Obamacare Supreme Court case, the Obama administration applied political pressure on Justice Roberts, and they bragged about it in their email saying, excuse me, this is the quote, the president threw down the gauntlet last time on the Supreme Court that was vital to scaring Roberts off. Close quote. So if you think that there will be equal rights and equal opportunity and equal justice for you under Hillary Clinton, think again. WikiLeaks this week proved that the people who get help from Hillary Clinton, her State Department, and her campaign were the people who give the Clinton money through her foundation. Her State Department prioritized requests from the Clinton Foundation for meetings that world leaders gave to those who went through the foundation. So if you wanted to bid on a contract to help rebuild Haiti, you didn't have a chance unless you paid homage to the Clintons with an admission fee to the Clinton Foundation. So if you believe in equal justice, forget about Hillary. The email exposed through WikiLeaks tells us that the DOJ and State Department were all in communication. The email investigations tell us everything that we told you turned out to be true. So if you're tired of a corrupt government that has turned into a feeding trough on your back while you work 60 and 70 hours a week to feed your family as they wine and dine with world leaders as your rights are being ignored, then it's time to take a chance. After 4 Supreme Court justices are appointed, no one's going to give a damn about what anyone said about Donald Trump. After 4 Supreme Court justices tear apart the Constitution to satisfy a globalized, progressive socialist agenda, it won't matter that we even have a Constitution. I told you this last week, and I'll say it again. If you want a woman who's not in it for us and believes in open borders, open trade, double speak, and destroys women, then you go right ahead and vote for her. You'll get what you deserve. But if you want real change, buck up, put on your big boy pants, and keep riding. It's decision time. You've got 24 days. And that's my open. Tell me what you think on my Facebook page or Twitter, #Judge Jeanine. Joining me now, former Republican presidential candidate, Donald Trump surrogate, and neurosurgeon, Dr. Ben Carson. All right, Dr. Carson, 24 days. As of yesterday, Donald is still talking about those women, and now we're up to nine accusers. Why doesn't he stop?
Well, I think a lot of people have been asking that question, and I'm hopeful that...
Well, you're close to him. Why doesn't he?
I hope he has a strategy, and he thinks that maybe there's an appropriate time to talk about it. Everybody else is telling them that now is the time, because these issues are so incredibly important. And as I said 2 weeks ago, these kind of allegations will continue to come up right until the election. Their time, this is all planned to keep the discussion about things other than what Hillary Clinton can defend. There's no way she can defend her tax program or her open borders immigration program or any of the other programs. She can't defend her policies when she was Secretary of State.
But look, does she even have a plan, Doctor? She wants open borders. She wants open trade. She says one thing, to Wall Street, and then another thing for us. She can't even, explain where she got this video thing from when Benghazi. The woman has nothing to talk about. So Donald needs to talk about her and only her.
Absolutely. And I suspect a lot of the people on the other side who don't listen to Fox News or some of the other programs, they don't even know very much about the things that have been exposed on her. They don't know the things that she's done. And what I would really love to see done is somebody to expose the Democrat platform. I mean, it reads like something out of Cuba. And I think most Americans would be appalled if they saw it.
Like what?
But
Give me an
keeping
example.
people in the dark, they don't know.
Keeping people in the dark?
Well, keeping people in the dark about their policies on abortion, about their policies on immigration. It's not what she, it's one of those situations where she says one thing in a speech, but she obviously had to okay these things.
Okay, so, why isn't Donald talking? You're close. You're one of his advisors. What do you say to him, and what does he say to you?
What we say to him, I don't want to talk about that in public, but it would be what you would it would be what you would expect, you know, because
well, what does he say to you when you say stop talking about those women?
You know, he kind of thinks that he probably should. And he has been trying to back off of it a little bit, and I think he will. We just have to keep reminding him that that's not the important thing. That's what we expect. They're going to do that. And this is not to say that abuse of women isn't an important subject. It is an important subject. However, it's always been an important subject, and it's a little bit very convenient that all these women are coming out just now at this particular point in time for things that have been done over the decades.
15 seconds. What does he have to do Wednesday night in Las Vegas?
He needs to talk about the issues and force Hillary Clinton to talk about the issues. Make her defend her tax hikes. Make her defend open borders. Make her defend how she plans to increase jobs in our economy. Make her do it. That's all he has to do, because she won't be able to do it.
All right, and Chris Wallace will be moderating that. Dr. Ben Carson, thanks so much for being with us. And joining me now with more reaction to all the developing election news, co-host of The Five and Democratic strategist Juan Williams and GOPEC chairman David Avella. All right, guys, 24 days. You happy about that?
Yes, I am.
Are you happy about that, David Avella?
Judge, we're at the point in the election where people are ready for the trial lawyer ads and ambulance chaser ads to come back on.
Yeah, they're almost happy about that. I'm not. I'm loving this. I'm loving that America's interested in this. All right, let's talk about it. Before the first debate, all right, what we find out is we find out about Donald's taxes. All right, that's dumped. Before the second debate, all these women come out. Before the third debate, Democrat Juan Williams, what are they going to hit Donald with?
Well, I don't think they have to hit him with anything more. I think he has opened himself in the last debate to all these women screaming out, saying,
Donald. Oh, he killed her in the last debate, and you know it.
I don't think the polls indicate that. Yes. But anyway, but he opened the door to the idea by saying, oh, no, that was just locker room talk. I never actually conducted myself in that manner. And now, as you point out at the top of the show, Judge Jeanine, you have 9+ women. It's like a steady stream saying Donald Trump groped me, touched me inappropriately.
Okay. David Avella, I want to get your response. But, you know, toward the end of the show, I interviewed the 3 women that Bill Clinton is accused of having molested. Here's the thing.
Is Bill Clinton running for president?
Well, he's going to be in the White House.
Oh, I missed that. I don't have to vote.
Let me finish my thought.
He's not on the ballot.
Well, you know what? They run as a team, you know, and I don't.
No, it doesn't matter if they run as a team.
Let me finish my thought. Let me finish my thought.
Let me make this point to you.
No.
If it's the same standard.
Here's my thought. Here's my thought. My thought is this. Every one of those women, unbeknownst to most people, told someone immediately or was found by other women. These 9 women, there's not a scenario where every one of them told someone. Most of them are 30 years later, and they've even said they never told someone at the time.
That's not true.
It is.
They have concurrent backup on all of these. Otherwise, they wouldn't be newsworthy. But let me just say, the key point to you is if people say Bill Clinton was wrong, and I think you're in that category, how can you not say that what's going on with Donald Trump is wrong?
There's no corroboration. That's a difference.
I think you're wrong.
All right, David Avella, hit it.
This is a coordinated attack by the Clinton campaign. They know the only way Hillary Clinton gets elected is to keep his unfavorables high and make people not want to vote for him or talk about the issues of where they see America going as far as who's going to create jobs and how they're going to do it, his tax plan versus her tax plan. This is a coordinated campaign by the Clintons. And here's the other thing. If they ever get exposed for it, they'll just lie about it. We find that out through these emails. In fact, I think on Fridays, their happy hour is which campaign official had the biggest lie of the week.
David, let me ask you a question. Which tax plan raises taxes on middle-class working Americans?
Well, Hillary Clinton has already.
The answer is Donald Trump.
Hillary,
but you don't want to say that.
It's not your show,
Juan. Has already said she's going to raise taxes.
No matter who show.
Juan, you're on my show.
I appreciate that.
Here's the bottom line. The question is, the one candidate who has criticized Catholics, Christians, evangelicals. No. It's not ridiculous. Juan.
She has not criticized anybody. The email, the WikiLeaks was about a communication between 2 people, one of of whom's not even in her campaign.
One was her campaign chairman, and the other is her communications director.
One was the communications director, and the other was a guy in a think tank.
Yeah, and what about the fact that they talk about the needy Latinos? What? They talk about Governor Richardson.
If I go into your email, what will I find,
You
Judge?
won't find anything like that.
I
And
see.
by the way, you know what? If I go into your background, I can find some people that you're fearful of.
That's what I'm saying.
But you know what, Juan?
You're supporting the Russians.
Let me tell you something. I am not supporting the Russians, Juan, and don't you dare.
They are the ones who are hacking.
Is that your only defense,
No,
Juan?
I'm just
Is
telling
that
you
your
the
only
truth.
defense
Is
to a
that the
woman
truth?
who lies
She's
through her
not
teeth?
even in the email.
Juan, let me tell you something. The question before the American people is, are they going to support a liar, a woman who lies every time she talks to the American people?
I see. And Donald Trump is such a truth teller. Oh, my God.
What would you say to Christians who want to support Hillary Clinton?
Good. God bless them.
Well, Judge, what we found out this week from the emails and what campaign officials have written, and to Juan's point, look, the attitude of campaign staffers comes from the top. And to think that these staffers don't reflect in some way Hillary Clinton's views is somewhat naive to say. Let me also say, though, we know that Democrats don't like the Second Amendment. After this week email talking about Catholics, now we know they don't like the First Amendment.
Yeah, it's all in WikiLeaks. All right, Juan Williams, David Avella, thanks for being with us. We're just 23 days away from one of the most important elections of our time. And my next guest dares you to imagine our country with Hillary Clinton at the helm. Author and director of the documentary Hillary's America, Dinesh D'Souza, joins me now with more. All right, Dinesh, talk about what Donald Trump needs to do in this next debate.
He's probably in the position of a fighter who's behind on points, and it would be good for him to go for a knockout. He needs to throw to Hillary the kind of questions that have the chance of dropping her to the canvas. We saw in the second debate that she is not that well equipped when she moves out of familiar territory. So he needs to, and he has the guts to do it. He's probably one of the very few Republicans who does. So I think he needs to go for it, and I have a couple of ideas of how he can do that.
Well, what's interesting is that everybody knew that because it was a town hall, it was a different setting, that he had an advantage because he's a people person. And what's interesting is she is actually in New York set up a studio, which is the exact setup of what the debate hall will be like on Wednesday night. And it's a moderator again, more her comfort zone. So what do you think that he should do? What should he ask her?
He should turn to her and pose questions directly to her, and I'll suggest one right now. He should say something like, look, Hillary, I mentioned the last debate that you and Bill went from $0 to $300 million on a government salary. Now, you didn't invent the iPhone. You didn't start a business. So what product were you selling to enable you to get so rich? Isn't it a fact that the product that you are actually selling is U.S. government policy? And doesn't that make you the most corrupt Secretary of State and possibly the most corrupt president we've ever had?
And so when she says, well, my husband was making money giving speeches, what do you say?
Then he says, well, Hillary, Bill's speaking fee was $150,000 in line with all the other presidents. But the moment you became Secretary of State, his speaking fee quadrupled to the $500,000 to $750,000 range for a 20-minute speech. Do you think people were actually paying your husband to give his usual pablum and rubbish? No. This was a kind of a bribe, a down payment on something that they wanted you to do. And very often you did it. And then tens of millions of dollars flowed to your foundation in appreciation. Isn't that the pattern that we've seen again and again and again? Do you deny it?
What if Hillary Clinton wins? She's ahead now, but you know what? This is such a volatile election, and I truly believe that anything can happen in the next 23 days, unlike any other presidential campaign. What would America look like if she were to win?
I think we will see a redefinition of the meaning of the word ladders of opportunity. I came as an immigrant to America because America offers ladders of opportunity that the guy at the bottom can climb. In Hillary's America, the ladder of opportunity is how close you are to Hillary. What have you done for Hillary? It's a little bit like the opening scene in The Godfather, where you have to kiss the Godfather's ring to get ahead. That's Hillary's America. It's a more gangsterized America. It's more like what you see in countries like Venezuela and India, which are run by gangs.
Well, you know, in your your movie, Hillary's America, and your book as well, and I've read and seen both, the idea of not actually working, but taking the Saul Alinsky model and having everyone else work, and then you kind of reaping the benefits is kind of a frightening concept, but also the Constitution being brushed by the wayside.
Yeah, I think for these people, politics is a way to make it, to get rich, to sort of loot the treasury. Think of what Al Capone wanted to do in Chicago. He wanted to loot the treasury, give contracts to his buddies. He wanted to walk into the big Chicago stadium, have the whole crowd shouting, "Big Al, Big Al, Big Al." That's what the Clintons want. That's their vision of America, with themselves as a sort of idolatrous heads of it.
And then the middleman, us, we lose out.
We do.
All right, Dinesh D'Souza, so good to have you here. And still ahead, allegations flying on both sides. So how do Christians choose between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton? We're going to talk about that. And next...
There was no infidelity. I could care less about infidelities. This was a crime.
Bill Clinton's accusers sit down with me to explain why they're afraid of the ramifications of another Clinton presidency. My fascinating interview next on Justice. Welcome back. Donald Trump caused a stir when he shined a spotlight on women who had accused Bill Clinton of sexual misconduct. Paula Jones received an $850,000 settlement from Clinton after alleging he harassed her and exposed himself to her while governor of Arkansas. Kathleen Willey has alleged she was groped and assaulted by Clinton during his presidency. And Juanita Broderick alleges that Bill Clinton raped her in 1978 while serving as Arkansas Attorney General. Bill Clinton has denied all these claims. I sat down with all three women and asked about their allegations and the aftermath. I want to thank you all for being on Justice. Your stories have been told, but I want to talk about some of the story that maybe wasn't told accurately, and I want to start with you, Juanita. You claim that Bill Clinton raped you.
Yes.
It's been said by the media that, there really isn't any proof. There really, isn't anything to support what Juanita said. But there was someone who found you immediately after the rape. Is that correct?
Probably within 30 minutes, because I didn't show up for the meeting that I was supposed to go to. And she came back to the room looking for me.
And what condition were you in when she found you?
Oh, the same as when he walked out the door. My clothes torn, my lip was swollen, 4 times the size that it should be, and bleeding. I was in a state of shock. I was panicking.
So your friend comes in. Did you think about reporting this to the police?
Oh, no. I did not know what to do. We both knew that this was the man that could close my doors the next day if he wanted to my nursing home
that you were.
Right. He was the main person in charge of all nursing homes.
How many people, though, did you tell, in addition to your friend who found you?
4 others.
4 others, contemporaneous at the time. This is called a recent outcry, which is legally very significant. I mean, in proving a case of rape.
Right.
But at some point, you did admit that this happened to you. When was that?
When Ken Starr's people came out and deposed me.
Right. All right. Now, Paula, I'm going to go to you. You were a clerk in Arkansas, the state clerk, and you met Bill Clinton as a result of a trooper coming to you. He apparently did something to you. Did you tell anyone about this, Paula?
Immediately.
Who?
Well, first of all, my coworker, she could tell that I was upset and that something had happened, and all I was able to say to her was that, and it was time for us to leave. It was time for the conference. It was over with at that time, and everybody was going home. And I said that, well, he made a pass at me. And that's all I said, and I left. I went straight over to a friend of mine's who worked not far from the state capitol, or the Excelsior Hotel, and I went straight over to her. And they could tell that I was upset when I come in and asked for my friend, and she come down and got me, and she took me to a back room And I told her what had happened, and I told her the story. And so she knew immediately within 30 minutes of what happened.
Did you ever think to report this?
No, I was terrified.
Why?
We're talking about the governor of the state of Arkansas. The state police took me up there. Who did I have to, I could tell. I mean, I was terrified. I didn't think, nobody would believe me. I didn't think.
But years later, you made the decision to sue. Why did you do that?
Well, it was 3 years later, actually, and the state police, actually, that took me up there, him and another state police did a book, and my name came out in the book. And that's how people started, I guess, investigating, and I came up. And, you know, what had happened was it said that I had a consensual sexual relationship with him, and I did not have any kind of a sexual relationship with him.
I'm going to go to Kathleen Willey. All right, Kathleen, your story also well known. Did you tell anyone contemporaneous or at the same time that it happened?
I did. But yes, I did. I told 4 friends.
So with all 3 of you, you made immediate reports to friends or co-workers, and, you know, so it's not as though you just came up with this years later. But you ended up suing Paula. You ended up with an $850,000 settlement. You, however, didn't sue Kathleen, nor did you, Juanita. But all of you made the decision initially to stay quiet. And you all say the same thing. I mean, the guy was the attorney general who could shut down your nursing home. He was the governor. He was the president. He was someone who could significantly impact your lives. Now, given the reluctance to do that then, given the possibility of Bill Clinton being back in the White House and Hillary Clinton being the president, how do you see a Clinton presidency playing out again in the White House? I'll start with you, Kathleen.
Years of revenge, getting even with people who crossed their path, who tried to get in their way. That's what I see. Years of that. I think that she'll spend most of her time doing that, trying to ruin people who tried to stop her from being president, us included.
And how did she try to ruin you, Paula?
Well, the smear campaign, and James Carville saying that, you know, drag a $100 bill through a trailer park and you never know what you're going to come up with. And just the different ways the media made fun of me and my looks and stuff like that, that made me feel like, why would he even take a look at you, you know? As though it was, you know, I didn't look good enough for, you know what I'm saying? That's the way they made me feel, you know. They tried to trash my name and say I lived in a trailer park. I've never lived in a trailer in my life, but those are the kind of people that voted for Bill Clinton.
Juanita, and you, how do you see
the same, pretty much the very same thing. Whenever it did come out about 20 years after the fact, people were referring to us as bimbos and referring to this as infidelities. There was no infidelity. I could care less about infidelities. This was a crime.
Thank you all for being with us today. Next, 2 men who say that they know that Donald Trump is innocent of at least 2 cases of alleged sexual misconduct against him. You're going to meet them next. Several women over the past few days have come forward accusing Donald Trump of everything from harassment to sexual assault. But at least 2 of the accusers are being challenged. Anthony Gilberthorpe is challenging the story being told by Jessica Leeds. Leeds says Trump molested her on a plane several decades ago. Anthony says he was on that plane, and he's here with me now. All right, good evening, Anthony. You are a Brit. You're from the UK,
yes.
And I understand you just arrived this afternoon. Is that correct?
I've flown over for this purpose.
Okay. Now, how did you hear about this claim by Jackie Leeds from decades ago?
It first came to my attention on Thursday morning, and within the hour, I had contacted Trump's lawyers to tell them exactly what I did know about this woman.
Okay, how did you know that this woman who was accusing Donald Trump was the same woman on a plane that you were on?
I instantly recognized her. I instantly recognized her as the woman I shared a flight with for 3 hours and conducted numerous conversations.
But what was it about her? Did she look the same? or what brought your attention to her?
It was a photograph of the time, and I recognized her, and it is without doubt that woman.
Okay. Do you have any connection to the Trump campaign or organization?
None whatsoever. I would be here tonight to defend whether it be Trump or Obama or Clinton.
Tell me about you. What is the worst thing that you have done? Because we're going to find out about it one way or the other.
The internet's full of it. They're in overdrive. And frankly, let this be testimony to the weaponry that I have. I will prove that I was on that flight with that woman and that I was witness not to any sexual misdemeanor on the part of Trump. That man did not sexually assault that woman.
Why should I believe you? Why should anyone believe you? Are you credible?
I'll tell you why, Judge, and here's the reason. I know the timeline, and let me just briefly tell you of that timeline. The story came out. Within hours, I had contacted the Trump Organization, and I had given them factual evidence of the configuration of those seats, where Trump was, where she was, where I was. That was just after she made no mention whatsoever of a witness. It was she, not I, that several hours later...
She talks about a man, and that man was you.
She did not in the first statement.
Or the second statement, she talks about a man.
And this is so important, really, Judge. It was between that first and second statement that I gave my evidence to Trump. In the second statement, without knowing, in fact, that I had given those facts relating to the configuration and the position of Trump and her and I...
What did you see happen then?
Great conversation. She was hugging the limelight. She was after him.
How do you know?
He did not touch her.
How do you know that?
Please, I was there throughout the flight. There was nowhere else to go.
Was it a day flight or a night flight?
It was a day flight.
Was he drinking?
No.
Was she drinking?
None of us were drinking.
How do you know that?
Don't let that be the excuse that the
How do you know that?
Give. No, because I was there. I was there, and you know the interest in
What was she wearing?
A white trouser suit. And you know the interesting thing? It was the stewardess that was in attendance at all time because it was a first-class cabin, and yet that was the flight attendant that mysteriously disappeared for 15 minutes whilst this sexual encounter that she said happened. It's not real.
Did she talk to you about Donald Trump?
Yes, she exclaimed with excitement when he went to the toilet, how she thought how exciting it was that she had met him. And she literally went like that. She said, "I can't believe my luck that I've met one of the richest men in the world."
All right. Anthony, there's going to be a lot of testing of what you said, but thank you for being on Justice Tonight. And another woman who has accused Trump of sexual misconduct is a former apprentice, Summer Zervos, who says Trump kissed and groped her in a hotel room. With me now is Summer's cousin, John Barry. All right, John, you say that your cousin is a liar, and why do you say that?
Well, Judge Pirro, I worked at Sonny's restaurant in Huntington Beach with her for about 6 months, and actually, I've never voted, and she absolutely turned me into a Trump lover. I really didn't care for Trump in the past, but I started watching videos.
So after she is on The Apprentice, she talked you into being a Trump supporter?
Basically, at the restaurant, she started telling me about all the good things he does. When the cameras aren't there, he'll go to children's hospitals to visit burn victims. And so anyways, I just, when I saw her on TV crying, I felt like she did a 360-degree turn.
I've got 20 seconds. There is a letter here, an email to Trump's people. She has a restaurant inviting Donald Trump on April 14th to come to her restaurant when he came to California. She has a restaurant, and it's suggested that he didn't come, and therefore she's angry with him. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely. That is 100% correct. She was not happy, and I just, I felt like, you know, she's been known to sue people. She sued a restaurant in Newport Beach for sexual harassment.
Interesting.
And I just felt like, I hope she doesn't do anything. And I was in my office, and I saw her on the TV, and I just,
John Barry,
I almost fell off my chair.
Out of time. Thank you so much. And next, Eric McTaxis and I discuss how Donald Trump can win the Christian vote despite these allegations. New WikiLeaks emails released this week show Hillary Clinton's campaign mocking and disparaging Catholics. My next guest is a popular Christian author, national radio host, New York Times bestselling author of If You Can Keep It, Keep It. Eric Metaxas joins me now, and he's my friend. Here's his book. Do you see it? I'm holding it up. All right, Eric, you always look great. Great to see you. Now, not too good for Catholics. I'm a Catholic. I was personally insulted. More than that, I'm angry. How dare you trash anyone's religion? How dare you show the bigotry that our Constitution protects?
Thank God we heard it. Thank God we heard it. Look, I wanted to mention that this book, If You Can Keep It, is about keeping the republic. And I talk about it for about 200 years. It seemed to be working. We were governing ourselves. And in the last 30 or 40 or 50 years, we haven't been learning the basics of why we're a great country and how liberty, self-government, actually works. So we haven't been governing ourselves for the last 30 or 40 or 50 years. And I say that America is over unless we start doing this. And when I say this, at the very heart of it is religious liberty. Hillary Clinton is the #1 enemy of religious liberty.
You know what's interesting about this is 6 months ago, when you and I were at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention in Nashville, you weren't sure about Donald Trump.
Right.
And now to hear you say this is stunning.
Well, look, here's the issue. People act like there's a third choice, right? People say, oh, I'm going to vote my conscience. You mean you're going to vote for Hillary Clinton. If you do not vote for Donald Trump, people need to be clear. You're on the hook no matter what. If you vote for Trump and he turns out to be a bum, you're on the hook. If you don't vote and Hillary gets in and she turns out to be what I know she's going to be, you're on the hook. There are plenty of people who say, I'm going to sit this one out. I'm going to be on principle.
Oh, that's so
listen,
ridiculous.
today, I just want to tell you, today I was jogging through Harlem, okay? I run up there and I'm looking at the poverty. I'm looking at these people and I'm thinking, if you love these people, you have to vote for somebody who's going to give them jobs, who actually is going to give them hope. You owe it to those people, right? And when I say those people, I'm talking not just people in the inner city in America, but people all around the world will be affected by who is our president. If you don't vote or you throw your vote away with Gary Johnson or Evan McMullin or whoever, you're going to, what I say in my Wall Street Journal article is that you are going to be responsible. God will hold you responsible. You have to make a choice.
Eric Metaxas, always good to see you.
Great
and
to
have
see
you
you
on this show. All right, back in a moment. History in Las Vegas this week as a Fox News anchor moderates a general election presidential debate for the first time. Join Chris Wallace as he moderates the crucial final debate between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton this Wednesday night. And of course, the best place to watch the first Fox moderated debate is here on the Fox News channel. And guess what? I'll be there too, and I'll be live in Las Vegas for Sunday edition of Justice tomorrow night at 9 p.m. I'll be there in Vegas, and I'm not going to hit the slots before then. Until then, friend me on Facebook and follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Judge_Jeanine. Thanks so much for watching. The Greg Gutfeld Show is next. See you tomorrow live from Vegas, Las Vegas.